listening to the Questionnaire.
Say that again.
You're listening to the Questionnaires.
I've just started.
Right here, for your ears, for your eyes.
The Questionnaire.
Get your Comic on.
Poke it out, poke it out, poke it out, poke it out.
12th century England. It was a time of civil war. No. Michael, that was like, that line didn't work to intro the show. But you can check out Michael Holman, on episode 2 of this season. Yeah, chatting it up, right? But we ain't talking about Michael today. But that book just dropped real recently. You should check it out, right? It's out there, right? But today, we're going to get some other things. I am the Unknown Factor, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Questionnaire, right? So, I don't know what we're going to do today, man. Season 2's been crazy. There's been a lot. But I'll tell you what, if you pay attention to like certain streams of episodes, it seems like there's just a lot of certain people. Man, that's because they're dope people. Yeah, Shiro Gauthier, how you doing?
Doing fantastic.
You've been on like a lot of episodes. Boom, 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 boom.
I'm just that good.
Yeah. It's cool, man. Like I said, if you look, there's times where that happens, and that's because they're dope people. Now, man, Shiro, I know you got information a little late. You probably might be looking at all the messages I sent you right now, hopefully.
Yes, I have.
Yeah, and
I've been glancing. I've been doing my best.
I know, but I want to point out it's a lot, is it not?
Yes.
It's a lie. It's a lie. And I'll tell you
It is a lot, and for good reason.
the before and after this particular quest, I would highly recommend y'all go check out. Like, it's a 7-day free trial. If you don't like what's over there, as far as you think it's entertaining for $2 a month, don't get it. But over on the Patreon, you could check out some great stories. They go into all kinds of crap. Yeah, with none other than Howard Wong. How you doing, man?
Doing good, man. Doing good.
You've done an excessive amount of crap. And then just the stories you've been telling, part of me just wants to be like, let's just like carry this on and tell stories. Because your stories are slightly ridiculous, man. Like the Hot Toys one where you met the dude and the thing with the Boba Fett figure from way back, which y'all can go check out on the Patreon. Like what? And that did you have no idea when you said that you were talking to the dude that started Hot Toys, and he's at that point. That point where he's like,
it's amazing that you can meet these folks, because you never believe you'll meet these folks in your lifetime. These people who then change or transform an industry, I would say, right? I mean, for Hot Toys and everything. For those who don't know what Hot Toys are, which is kind of weird, but if you don't know, look them up, and then look up the toy movement back in Hong Kong if you want to dig deep. It really did start in Hong Kong when the first guy decided to throw on real threads on an action figure with actual workable buttons and zippers and whatnot. And I literally just brain-fired his name, which is terrible. But he's a godfather of that movement that then basically sparked the Hot Toys movement. No joke. I wish I could remember his name. I actually brain-fired. I never met that guy, and it was kind of, I always wanted to. Every time I took a trip to Hong Kong, I was trying to find him and try to meet up. Just see if I could meet the guy, because it was like, it's crazy that one person who decided to do something for himself really sparked. If you think of how many people's shelves are full of Hot Toys right now, is high-end figures that have like functional clothing. It boggles the mind. But also, it is like, it's a throwback in time. Like, if you think of the first G.I. Joe toy or action figure, the very first one, right? If you don't know what that is, you YouTube it, Google it, you'll see it. It had functional clothing.
My brain had to think there for a second and run backwards, because that predates me a touch, but I'm aware of it, and I was like,
likewise.
That
I'm a bit of a nerd, so I dig a little bit here and there.
My brain had to run the G.I. Joe backwards real quick to the boom, to the because there have been so many different variations of those.
Right.
It's kind of crazy, right? I hope y'all enjoyed listening to Kelly Thompson talk about Scarlet, right? You can go back a couple episodes and hear that, man. I hope. I can't wait to read that. It ain't out but that's neither here nor there, but we got into some crazy things. But man, Howard, it blows my mind. Like, how do you balance? I want to know. This is the main thing I think I want to know, going through everything you've done. How do you balance all that? What do you do, man?
Not sleep.
What's-
Not
Not
when I
sleep.
should
Sleep
sleep.
is for the weak.
Maybe, but lot. It's gonna sound odd to say that most of the stuff, most of the time, it doesn't overlap in a bad way. I had overlaps from different things. So, besides writing comic books, I do creative strategy development for different entertainment media. It would be the easiest thing, from mobile games to toys, as I mentioned. I worked in animation for a little bit. The weirdest project I ever worked on would be, what was that? The LARP park. Oh, good lord, the LARP park. So live action role playing park. So it was called. What the hell was it called? Holy crap! It's bad when I forget the name of it. But it's located in Macau in one of the casinos in the Sands, and it's the first one that was built, 100,000 square feet. So you literally legitimately got in costume, got a little mini iPad, and then you had quests where you go and actually physically do things like move rocks to solve a puzzle and all that junk. And then you fight monsters and creatures using Kinects, which is way back in the Xbox Kinect. So you lose using a move. So when you had your sword or whatever weapon that you acquired, you can use that to fight monsters. So back in the day, when you work in mobile games, people come and go. It is a revolving door. That's how the industry is. So one of the game designers I worked with left our studio to work for another company who was building that, and he called me and it's like, do you want to write quests for this game I'm doing? I'm like, sure. I need you to go to Macau and go to this casino, and I'll meet you there to sign all the NDAs, and then you can walk in and then I'll show you what we're doing. Walked in and it's like, you're making Disneyland? What's going on? And then he explained the LARP park thing, and then he walked me from the beginning, from the costuming all the way to the gameplay. And it's like, we have all this built up, we have characters, but you got to help us with the quest. I'm like, holy crap, this is insane. So I'm legitimately telling people to walk from here to another part of the 100,000 K, for it to do something. But yep, this is going to be so much fun. It's so stupid. Let's go. So for example, if I'm working on that project, I can also still work on comic books because I don't need to physically be somewhere for comics, but I need to be there for that. So I can do both at the same time. And there's times where I'm working when I'm doing branding and marketing for companies. I did stuff for Tony and Guy. Let's stay in Hong Kong. I did Tony and Guy Hong Kong. They asked me to do some branding and marketing for them because they were losing their expat market, which are people who come overseas and work in Hong Kong and Asia. So because I'm from Toronto and I'm also Asian, so I can find the balance, the force for them to grab back that market. So for things like that, I can do that and do a bunch of other creative things because that I'm very pinpointing, knowing where I'm going to point my sniper rifle to and know what I need to do. When it's something where a project where somebody goes, we want to have people come and buy or use our services. We don't have no idea what to do. Come up with something. That's going to take me more time. So when I have an easy task, like do the marketing branding for this, because we want the 25 to 35-year-olds to come in for sure. And then everybody else from 45 onwards will be a nice plus. So I already have a very pinpointed target, but when it's really open-ended, that will take more of my time, but I can still do both. So I juggle the time. So if you think of a day of, some people think of a workday as 8 hours. Mine might be a little bit longer than that, 10, maybe 12 hours for a day. And you divide that so you divide it between the projects. So if I'm doing 12 divided by 3, there's enough time to do all that, plus eat. All of my procrastinate by watching shows or reading comics or something in between all that. They keep saying. So you can do that, but it takes a lot of discipline to do a lot. There's only one time in my life where I did was because when you take in projects, when you're freelancing and you're doing things for yourself, you never know when something's going to fall apart, and it falls apart all the time. So I would usually take around 5 projects and say yes to 5, thinking that maybe 2 or 3 might, and then I'll have to and still pay bills and whatnot. one time in my life where all 5 went all the way, and I was like, oh crap, that's a lot of open-ended projects I just said yes to, where they don't know what they need and want, and I need to create things from the ether for all 5 at the same time, and the deadlines are overlapping. So it's like, that was the most painful, hard one, because I did everything from took somebody's treatment and did a first draft of a 2-hour film in 24 hours. I will never do that again because that almost killed me, I think. I'm in the middle of doing like figuring out creating activations for products and services for whatever hell that was. I can't remember what it was, but that was crazy because that was a great client / friend who's like, I need your pull a favor for this because I'm flying in to Asia to show this thing to studio. We do not have a script, but we have a treatment. Can you turn it around in 24 hours? I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I want to, but yeah, sure. Then I did. That's the first time I did that, and I was like, yeah, I know I can do it, but I don't want to do that often because I literally went to the doctor. And then when I woke up, I went to the doctor, and I'm like, I wasn't breathing properly, and I didn't feel right. I just wanted to make sure that I'm not going to die, and I explained what I did, and the doctor's like, don't do that again because you technically could have probably died from doing that, because I wasn't really eating either. I was literally living off coffee and snacks because I was trying to turn it out. I didn't want to take a break to get it all done because I was actually fixing continuity issues, and some arcs were a little weird. So I was like doing that as I was scripting as fast as I could. But yeah, you find time. You'd be surprised how far you can push yourself if you love the project. So if you love something, you're working with people that you love, like the guys at 3-0, hands down, I love them. And Kim Fung Wong is like the founder of 3-0. And even from how I met him and how he treated me for our first project, from that point on, it was like the tone that was set. Because I didn't meet him on the job interview. I was at an art gallery show that he was hosting for Ashley Wood, because at that time they had a partnership for 3-0 toys. No, not 3-0, 3A toys during that time. And I had a friend from the Philippines who told me to go to the show, and as it was in Hong Kong. I didn't know the show existed. And I was like, sure, I'll swing by, see how it is. End up liking what I was seeing, and then talking to other folks who were there for the show who flew in from international. And I didn't know at the time who Kim was, and he started asking me questions out of the open blue, and I was just talking to him and talking about the paintings, talking about the toys and stuff. And then he asked me about me. And then next thing I know, he passed me his business card. It's like, you have time tomorrow? Come by anytime to my office, and we'll have a talk and see where it could go. So I did, and turned out to be development projects. None of them saw the light of day here and there for different reasons. But eventually he called, and this is the point where our relationship got to the point where I dressed like him, going to his office, which is basically shorts, t-shirt, and flip-flops, because it was really because it was an industrial unit. It was really hot, and I was like, I don't want to look like Niagara Falls every time I walk in your door and look like I'm panting and having a heart attack. So this time, I walked in and he wasn't alone. There was people who were like, with suits on. And I was like, this is not normal. What's going on? And then he introduced me to folks from Bandai. that moment. It's like, because from Bandai, you have this project. Here, take a look. And they literally threw a prototype. Prototype's like all gray plastic. So you've seen those prototypes. And they're like, what do you think of this? Design-wise, the legs are a rip-off from Gundam. And you sort of the face structure of this is a robot toy. His face sort of looks like a rip-off from Gundam as well. Not that it's bad, it's just because I grew up like that and I sort of see that and I associate that. I am pigeonholing, sorry, blah, blah, blah. Funny you should say that. The guy who designed Mobile Suit Gundam and all the Gundams, yeah, that's his design. This is his original toy collection that he's trying to put out there. Oh, shit. I'm glad I didn't say that his face. He's on the phone.
That story just keeps escalating and escalating.
So it's like, for me, it's sort of like looking at Kim like, I'm not getting this job, am I? I don't even know, is this a job? Like, why am I here? I at this point, I still don't know why I'm there. He was just asking me questions, but that happens all the time with Kim, and I love him because he will ask my opinion, give him insight, and we do it. And sometimes it's a project, sometimes it's just a knowledge exchange. Sometimes he lets me geek out because flash, you know, we want to flash forward real quick when he moved offices, and I was there for, I forgot what it was. I was on Hong Kong for a week, or I forgot where it was, but I swung by just for like half a day. And I decided I have a couple hours. I'm going to swing by, say hi, and whatever. It's like, sure, take a look at this. And then it was a 6-inch figure die-cast Transformers G1 of Bumblebee, and I was like, is this yours, or is this like something you're going to cut in half and look at it? Because they do that. They look at competitors' bolt bearings and all the joints and all that crap. It's like, no, this is my new thing. I'm like, wait, you have the Transformers license? Like, yep. Okay, you're doing this to me again. Whereas again, I told him from day one, you got to get people to sign NDAs, because I'm good about this, but not everybody's going to be like me and not say everything. So he literally had the license for Transformers G1. He showed me design after design. I was like, I hate you. I should want to buy this. I know how much it's going to cost. What, $300? Like, no, $150. Really? What the hell? It's like, yeah, because it's kind of expensive, and people's shelves don't have so much space. And this is kind of neat because then you can have more on your shelf. He thinks like that. This is how he thinks. And it's just like, and then he'll ask me, what do you think? I'm like, I think I'm in trouble. Because I'm going to steal this and run. But no, but he's like that. So from day one, going back, you know, back to the Bandai meeting that I didn't know was really happening. He's like, told them that I write comics. You guys were looking for a writer to help create a story for this property, for all your different media that you're involved with, which Bandai does everything. Let's see where it goes. And they asked me if I had a story idea based on the prototype and the scan sketches that they were showing me. So I was legitimately making a story on the spot to see if they would like it. So I didn't have the job yet. You know, and in Kim's mind, I already had the job. For me, I'm like, I don't know who these people are. I know their titles.
Where
I
am
heard
I?
the names,
What is happening?
but I don't know who they are, right? So I'm like doing it, and I'm like, and I had to consciously tell myself, don't give them any ending. No matter how good or bad it is, it's probably going to be really bad at this point because you're just making it up as you go along with the feedback from them. And then at the end, you know, when I said, this is it, and they're like, is there an ending? Yes. After there's a contract, there will definitely be an ending. And I said that. A very North American thing to say to the Japanese folks. And I was like, oh, I hope they understand that humor, because if they think that's straight, that's really, really bad. And I kid you not, the contract was then presented to me, and I was like, oh, they do not understand the humor, but I'm going to sign this now.
Like, all right.
So I ended up doing that. So I did story treatments for different media, and ended up doing the promo comic when they found out I actually wrote comics. And my favorite part of this story is that I hired, nepotism, I know a little bit. I hired a friend who was out of work at that time, and she was working in video games. Originally from Toronto, went to Vancouver to do video games, and then her contract wasn't renewed, so she was looking for work. So I'm like, if you want to do the promo comic, it's not a lot of money, but I will see if I'll put you in the pool of talent to see if they like you or not. So it wasn't just like, here she is, blah, 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 this is the one. I gave about 5, and they chose her. Her name is Jessie Lamb, by the way. So we're in production. Pages are coming in. They're loving it, blah, blah, blah. And they want to have a meeting for all of us, and she's going to do it through the phone. In the middle of right from the start, they hit the mute button on her. It's like, Jessie's a girl. Uh-huh. Yeah. Oh, but so violent. Mm-hmm. And they were so puzzled that why would a girl be able to draw heads being lopped off and whatnot and all this crap? And I was like waiting for the shoe to drop. I'm like, yeah, I know we had this, because I had these kind of meetings with Bandai folks where I was explaining cultural differences between Asia and North America, and why things like the Ghost in the Shell film, as much as we know we wanted the live action to be better, it is like, why do people hate her? Why do people hate the film? It's like, because the actress, not that she's a bad actress, it's just people wanted a different kind of actress to play the main lead, and I had to explain that to them. But they're like, but we like her. I'm like, I know that. Yeah, we even the creator like I know, but it's a different mindset over here in the Martian market, right? It's a little different thing, the little different nuances that they would not understand, right? But yeah, that they were like wrapping their minds around it. And I'm like explaining to them that she worked in video games, she worked on Gears of War and whatnot, and so forth and so forth. And they're like, oh, okay. Because do you like the art? Or if you don't like the art, we're already like almost done the whole thing. But if you really don't like the art, let me know. I would like her to still be paid for the pages, and we can redo the art with someone. But they did. They liked the art. They were just trying to do this with their mind. And then when they finally could, they're like, they didn't even think about, guy, girl, blah, blah, blah. Because they saw more art coming in, and then seeing it as a whole narrative, because it was just like 2 pages when we had that meeting. And then when the rest of it came in, he saw it as a story, and they were like, okay, this is great. You guys keep doing what you're doing. We're not going to talk to you anymore. Like, okay. Whatever.
All right, and I just got to say real quick, as far as in regard to what you just said, I think it's funny you say with the Ghost in the Shell film, it had a lot to do with the actress. And I honestly think that happens a lot of times when they're doing any kind of adaptation. It's funny though. I'll tell you one guy I think who kind of to a degree at least has figured it out is Kevin Feige.
Yes, definitely. I would say if it wasn't for I'll say this: if it wasn't for Kevin and the empowerment for Kevin to choose his team, we would not have what we wanted back in the 80s. Like, honestly, right? Really, because even during the 80s, I still remember the page. I don't remember the freaking issue I think it was from when Wizard Magazine had the who would you cast as who for a Marvel lineup, right? Like we had the idea. 80s, that was 90s, probably 90s, 80s, 90s, right?
I'd say 90, I'd say probably 92, 93.
Yeah, so
yeah,
early 90s.
That, but yeah.
Right? So we wanted it back then. He knew that because he wanted it too, but he figured out what's the team that he wanted and how to make it work, right? So all hands down to, like, even the missteps that some people point out here and there for certain things, and I agree with some of them. You have to look at it as a whole. If you focus on, okay, they made it a little misstep on one of the films or one of the shows or whatever it may be. If you look at the whole thing as a whole, how he got it made from nothing and all the hurdles internally, externally to what we have today, you look at it as a whole, yeah, his track record isn't bad at all. So as many people go,
yeah. Hold on. I gotta do this because I think it's funny that I can literally see you were talking about that I don't have that promo comic. I'm sorry, but I do have the casting call for Earth X.
Oh crap! Oh, that you usually have it at your desk.
Well, no, I mean I've got a couple wizards right back here. Like
mine in my basement somewhere.
Just a few. Like I don't have that many.
Wizard had 2 things. For anyone who has never seen a Wizard magazine or know anything about them, if you ever get your hands on them or are able to look at one, look at least 2 things. One, whip your way to the back and look at the price guide for fun. The second thing is the how to draw crap.
Can I just say though, real quick? So this is for Earth X, right? This is the one I just randomly grabbed. I want everybody to did you know that's Captain America? And do you see who they cast?
Stone Cold. Hey, it legitimately had really good casting back in the day. I mean, it made sense during that time because people think about it. I think I hope I'm not wrong. I believe they did have. No, it wasn't. My brain's saying they had Tom Cruise for Iron Man. I don't think so. They had Tom Cruise for somebody else, though. I think
you might be right. Honestly, I don't know.
Wow, it's crazy. I don't know. I don't have that issue.
Howard, that's really specific, man. I can't.
Yeah.
I
know.
I dug this one out random. I mean, I got a few more there, and I'm sure but if I randomly pulled that one, I'd be like, well, okay then. That happened, and I'd be bloody well amazed. I still think it's
but Kevin Feige did it right. I mean, I'm gonna slowly self promote. So I did do an Iron Man comic. but it's actually based on the first Marvel theme attraction in the Disney park. So I had no idea that certain people would be involved beyond Disney and Marvel folks. I thought that was a separate thing from Marvel Entertainment. Like, honestly, because there's different departments, different arms, blah blah blah, different heads of different things, right? So one of the rides that opened up in Hong Kong Disneyland was the Ant-Man and the Wasp ride. And Kevin was there. I was like, ooh. And I wasn't there in Hong Kong at the time. I knew one of the interviewers who was going to interview him, and he told me, like, Kevin Feige is going to be here. What question should I ask him? Like, how are you talking about? He's going to be at the opening of a ride at Disney? Yep. It is, my mind was like, wait, because the first question was like, but why? But then it kind of makes sense because it connects to everything, because he gets it. He knows that as a fellow geek, you have to have all this. Even it was called Iron Man Experience. When I was there doing the research, getting past the interviews and all that, and looking at all the stuff they did, that Disney, the way it works, when you're in line, it's a long line, so you do have the immersion experience where in the line you see artifacts from whatever ride you're going on. They had things from the film. They had the Mark I suit. They had the blueprint for the arc reactor, which was used in the film. But you would never know that because it doesn't say that. There's no labeling it because it's the immersion, the immersion into the world. They will never say that. But the Imagineers are like, this is from this and this is from this. Like, my brain was literally exploding, going, crap and hell. I thought these were just, honestly, just you just made these up. I didn't think that you actually acquired them from film. Really? This has happened to like all Disney parks. Like, some of the things that we saw were actually used in films and TV. It's like, yep. Why don't you tell me?
Firstly, though, in all fairness, they typically make several versions of it, like at least one or two of any particular prop in case one breaks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
But that is still. That isn't. So I'm just saying. They got a reserve somewhere like this is, and they probably. Like, if they don't keep, I don't know, they probably couldn't keep all that crap anywhere at this point. It'd be a ridiculous amount now that I think about it. It would blow up.
Well, this is the comic. I have it. So that's the comic. But this is like the legit for the one from Disney before they re-released it through Diamond and into a different title, which I didn't know. But, spoiler, this is the character I created. I don't know if you can see that, because I'm actually having the camera covered with the comic. So, yes? No? Can see it?
Yeah.
Okay.
What?
So I got the, when he's like, what do you want to do with this? Create a character that's from Hong Kong, and it's sort of this like you slow ask, and then it's like, sure, okay, then you said yes. And it was the most bizarre experience for me. Not only because you get to have fun and do something new and add to like the world that you love, is the input you're getting from people from Marvel HQ. They're like, oh, that's Dan Buckley saying something about this. And you're trying not to freak out, and you go to the artist like, do you know who this is? Of course you don't, because you're a local artist and you don't really read comic books. And then you can't tell anyone else. From besides him, there's no one else you can do that to. So I'm like, can you Google him before we talk? Because I need you to understand why I'm going to be like up, dialing up to 11 at this point. And then Joe Q came in and talked about color, because we had a different color scheme and stuff. And then I'm like, okay, you definitely need to Google folks before I talk to you, and then digest what he just told us for the changes and requests and stuff. But yeah, that was a weird moment for me, because I'm like, when the little kid in you starts screaming and running around the room, that's literally what's happening. But as an adult, you're like, okay, now I got to get this done and, get this right, make it work. But the little kid in you's like, this is the most bizarre, weird crap, because you never dreamed that you'd be doing this. And you're also going to Disney for free and looking at all this weird stuff, like behind the scene. We literally went through the employee entrance, saw the costuming. Like, it's like, the old school dry cleaners with, multi-level tracks of costumes just moving. And you're like looking at like, I cannot tell anyone this, right? Like, for a while, like, yep, okay. And, it's like, right down to where they have lunch. They have their own cantina. It's like people like halfway through costuming and you're eating away. It's like, I want to take photos of all this crap, and I'm not, because I really want to keep this job. right down to having random statues. And then my favorite was when you go in the back, there's like a back lot to every Disney park that, we'll never see. Be able to walk in there. It's like, so that's behind those giant ass doors that, that cover like to a couple of stories. Like, oh, it's actually like a giant parking lot with golf carts ferrying people away. And it's like the most bizarre thing. You're just like, it kind of kills the magic, but kind of not. This is kind of cool. And I'll tell you, anyone who loves the magic of Disney, never ask, and I'll tell you because I did, and I can't unsee it now. Never ask an Imagineer how they hide things in the park, because you'll never unsee it. And I won't say what it is, because once I say it, people hate me because it's like, I can't see it now. I know, because I can't unsee it, because I see it everywhere. Every time I look at a photo of Disney, I'm like, that's it there, that's it there, that's it there. I see what they did there.
But
I'm not gonna say it.
Will you agree, Howard, that after we wrap the show to put it in the extras for me? Because I'm curious.
Yeah. It is so simple. It will kill you, because I didn't notice it until they pointed it out. I'm like, it's so dumb and simple, but it worked on me all this time until now. Until that moment they told me. They didn't warn me. Just like, did you know that we did to hide this and this? Like, no. And now I can never stop seeing them. But I appreciate the share. But yeah, I mean, for going back to circling back to Kevin Feige, for him to go to honestly a theme park attraction to support it, bring in the movie actors. They brought in actors for it. It legitly, around any Disney park, you have the actors and actresses showing up, because they understand the connection to folks like us and people who are new to it. And I'm not going to dissuade them who are new because of the films and and the shows, that there's a connection that way, and that's important to keep it, right? There's no other property that has done that yet, seriously, like in our lifetime. We can think of any ride, like when they did the Back to the Future ride, did they have them do the movie studio come in and the producer came in and did all that? None. They had the ride come in, right? So it's a whole different world, right? I mean, yeah, they had Johnny Depp in the Pirates of the Caribbean, ride way after the fact. They didn't have it, obviously it was older than him, but it's this understanding of connecting to people and how important the material is and how important the stories are to us, and how it affects us at a whole different level than it's entertaining. It is, but there's another level for us. He gets that. So again, even though he has missteps here and there for different things from films and whatnot, look as a whole of how he got it made. Like if you look back at the hurdles he had to go over to get to where we are now, it's madness, man. So it's mad respect, because I don't think a lot of people will be willing to go put themselves through all that to go, we didn't want this to happen. I'll take the punishment. I'll do whatever needs to be done to get it there, and then take all the flack for things that don't work. Because he ain't the one who's like writing the scripts, filming it, editing it, putting the music to everything. He ain't the person, right? So you got to see it, as I said. But he's taking all the flack, where no one's pointing out to whatever thing they don't like from the MCU, to the writing is bad or the lighting is bad or whatever it may be, right? They all say, "Oh, Kevin's not doing well." I'm like, really? Because he's just one person the entire team and of teams that that's been put together. But that's how I see it as, anyways. But I'm pretty sure I just derailed us to a whole other conversation. But
Hey, whatever, man, it happens. It's a quest, right? I don't really particularly care, Howard. But with what you just said, I'm curious. And knowing that, everybody says, yeah, Kevin Feige's having trouble. And I fully agree with you. It's a lot to juggle. But one of the people that I don't think he had to do much juggling with, that being James Gunn, has obviously now stepped over and is going to do what he did. What do you think? Looking at James Gunn as a creator, like, do you think the upcoming DCU has a higher probability of achieving than what they've done, and maybe like making it look, Howard, I want to see Doomsday. I don't want to see Doomsday with laser. Look, if we're gonna do Doomsday, like if we're gonna kill Superman, firstly, like let's do at least 2 movies, 3 movies, like I mean, I think they jumped to killing him a little too quick, in my opinion. Like it was like Brainiac should be before murder. You know what I mean? I'm just saying. But if you're gonna bring in Doomsday, like he has to be the guy that literally just shows up and does nothing but hit him. It can't be trickery. It has to be come here, and that is all. And but it's a lot of it. You know?
You know what? I believe that having seen what James Gunn did with Guardians of the Galaxy, and let's be really mean, and I know there's fans, and I'm sorry, but let's be realistic. The amount of fans that grew after his take on from with the MCU of Guardians of the Galaxy shot them way above the fan mark that people never thought they could hit, including me. I was like, I legitimately like this a lot more than I thought I was going to like this. I mean, I still remember the moment I was with my kids watching it, the very first, Guardians of the Galaxy film from, the moment he slapped on his Walkman and started singing, my kids were just howling. I'm like, oh, we're done. This is going to be one of those rides where it's going to be like movie after movie for a while, because he figured out how to make this connect with us already in the first few moments. God dang it. What I see him doing for the DC movie universe is going to be amazing, because he understands the balance between comedy, action, and pathos. Because if you look at I'm not saying it wrong, but is it Brightburn, his horror film, his superhero horror film?
It is Brightburn. It's
right.
It's the most intriguing live action interpretation of that situation, really, Mike. Because it like
Right.
when puberty comes and they want to argue with you for real, and they've got that level of power. What you better somehow raise them right, because if you want to raise the rod, you got a problem with the child, you know.
Yeah. So, for him to be able to go from like these different kind of films, right? Even if you don't know his really, really early stuff, even if you look at Brightburn and Guardians of the Galaxy, in Peacemaker, even like looking at him balancing all these things, and be able to go from one level to another level. So you can go very serious, dark, to very humorous, right? When you can do all that, then you can then juggle all the complex characters from DC, because you can't treat each character the same. That's not what you do. Each character is completely different from each other. You have different tones and different levels of comedy to darkness, etc., etc. So to have him being the guiding light to it totally makes sense, because he understands how to balance it all. Because if you make everything all gritty and dark, you just think of all the DC characters, it won't work for everybody, right? And it's going to be hard. And it's going to be what I'm going to be interested in is to see how he will balance ensemble casts that are full of people like Plastic Man to whatever, Plastic Man engaging with Batman kind of thing, etc., etc. Right? He can make it work. But when I say that, it's like, well, yeah, we had that in cartoons. In cartoons, there's live action with someone if he's dressed literally in Plastic Man's, actual, get up on film, doing what he does. Can we still take it seriously when there's Batman in the scene too? Will we still have that? Oh my God, Batman's going to kick butt. Well, Plastic Man is doing his thing. Can we still do that? If James Gunn finds that balance, and I think he will, we're going to be in for for a great superhero ride for years to come, because we need that. We need that be able to go both ways and in all different directions all at the same time, right? Because as much as people love Snyder's Justice League and what he's done with it, and honestly, I did watch it. I didn't watch the extended version. I watched it. I get why people liked it. It wasn't for me though, and it wasn't for some other folks too. But I wanted a different kind of Justice League, and so it's not like it was like it's so bad that I hate it. It's like it wasn't directly for what I was expecting and what I wanted from it, and it's okay for what it is. I enjoyed it. I did watch it. How they put everything together as a full narrative of all the character films to that film. I didn't like how they organized it. I would have liked the old school, do the individual films of each character and then build a world around them. And then, it's really old school to do it, I admit, but it would have helped it build up, not just for, comic book readers, but those who are not, who are aware of the characters, but have never really read a comic book, never watched, any of the animated series and what have you, to understand what's going on and how it connects, at least at that level, and then enjoy it. It would be different how we would enjoy it, but enjoy it as well. But it would have gave us more, more stuff to grab onto before jumping into Justice League, and then it's like, okay, this happened, and this happened. These characters just sort of got introduced because they needed this character to be, I think it's kind of good and bad. A friend of mine who was not a comic book reader and watch superhero films for entertainment, and that's fine because, we do the same thing with other films. I admit that, right? Fast and Furious, I don't watch it for because it's serious. Like, really? I watch it for because it's entertaining. And I know that. I know exactly what I'm getting myself into legitly, and I do it consciously. So I have a friend who's not a comic book reader, not a comic book fan. He saw the Justice League film with me. He saw Cyborg as, so they needed an Iron Man character. And I was like literally, legitimately, while we were watching the film, like, they needed an Iron Man character. And that's that kind of character. It's like associating each one to the MCU that he knew in the films. And I was like,
Ugh.
Yeah, it's not, but I totally understand what you're saying, and now I kind of see it, and now I can't unsee it, because for people who are not familiar with the characters and the properties, their brain's going to be like, you just copied that and that, and you sort of shoved it in, and now it's in this film, and we didn't have any build up, and now they're here, and now they're going to fight the bad guy. Oh, they fought the bad guy. Oh, they won. We literally left, like everybody else in the theater, left the movie going, okay, that happened.
So back to the show, right? Because I had to do something, and then I swore too much, and I had to do something else. Right? So that happened. But what you were saying as far as how they built Marvel comparatively to how they built DC, the only thing that I can think of movie-wise that's not anything comparable to that would be the, I guess they call it the MonsterVerse now, yeah, with Godzilla and Kong. You know what I mean? They slowly have built out films to where now they're doing these films. And I feel like they're at a point to where, they already had the successful TV show, but I feel like they're at a point where they could almost do a film about, like, King Gojira, which I'm probably mispronouncing that, butchering it. And I feel like it would work.
Yeah, because you're looking at everything from the I was going to say TV series, this streaming series, I guess would be the closest thing to say.
Yeah, the series.
Yeah, the series, and then the films and stuff. They built enough of the world to where they can now introduce. But they actually, in the films, they already introduced other monsters in quotation, right? But not the main ones that we grew up watching on Saturday afternoon, films back in the day, right? They can do it, and because of the way the world works with technology and film, they can do it. And I use this as nice as possible, way easier now, because of computer, CGI, etc., etc. They can legitimately have like a monster rumble, which would be crazy to see. I don't know how they would do it so that we don't. It's kind of weird to say that. I would love to see it. I'm also kind of afraid to see it because if you do it wrong, it's going to be silly and stupid, and then that dream just died on screen for me. So I'm hoping if they ever do that, I hope they do it right. I don't know how they would imagine it, but if they do it right, my God, that's like every childhood dream to see all your different monsters that you grew up with just going to town on each other. I was just like, and then things getting destroyed left, right, and center. That'd be insane.
So
like,
the end game battle on a kaiju level.
Yeah.
That's I want to be around that if it ever happens. That's all I know.
But no, but we got glimmers. We had glimmers back in the day when they did that in film. They had tag teams, right? All the time, but have a full on like the whole universe. How are they trying to structure the universe for monsters, right? If they can do that. Oof.
Wasn't it Destroy All Monsters? I don't know how many monsters were ever on the scene at one time, though.
Destroy All Is that was it an animated film we're talking about? Or
No,
am I
no, no. I'm
thinking
talking about an old school Godzilla film.
Whoa, sorry. Yep. Sorry. I
Yeah.
don't know.
I like me some Gojira, sir.
Yeah.
I do. You know?
Oh man. I think they can't. You know what? I think it'll be better as a streaming series than the film, though. They need the
build up.
space. They need the time.
Yeah.
They need because if you just throw it if you throw in all the monsters within a 2-hour film, it's kind of weird, right? It'd be kind of weird to all of a sudden here we are, let's go.
I mean, they do kind of seem to slowly be building to where they're adding more and more monsters. I think you could do it as a trilogy. You know,
Trilogy.
I don't know. And I don't know if you could afford the budget special effects. Well, I mean, I know they did a lot on the show, but look, it wasn't comparative to what they do on one of the films as far as the amount of special effects. It's just, and to do, excuse me, to where you have all the monsters properly, that's a big special effects budget. That's mainly what that is.
Yep.
Yeah,
It is.
you got to have
as I
that
said,
in-game budget. Which now I want to see this. Now it's
a dream.
Yeah.
It's one of those little kid dreams. Have them all there to kicking butt and stuff to see what would happen, right? But,
did you ever think you would see in-game, Howard? I mean, be real honest.
Sorry, say it again?
Did you ever think you'd see something like in-game, really?
On film? No.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's
because we honestly, if you explained the end game as a story treatment for film to anyone, this is what I see for the film, blah blah blah, for Endgame. No one's gonna go, yeah, I totally can see that happening with how we would do the logistics and budget. No, because that's why comic books exist, because we can do that in comics, because it's a little different budget to make all that happen. But for live action, that was just bonkers. That's why, that one, crazy scene, and we all know that scene, when it all comes together, it's just like, this is actually happening. Holy crap. And we're here for it. You can imagine them thinking about this story, thinking about that scene, and then building all the stories towards that, right? And knowing that this is going to be the payoff. And everybody's, anyone who watches it, who reads or understands any kind of story knows that there's going to be a payoff. But that one was insane.
Okay.
You left the theater going, what? Did I just watch that? Let's watch it again.
And not even that, but there's I don't know if you were in the theater for that, and it was anybody's first time that was in the theater. And I'm sorry, when Cap is and after they all get there, and he's like, Avengers assemble, that whole crowd every time would just it was whoa, you know what I mean? When, especially on the first initial viewings and everything. I'm curious, comparatively, do you think there's a moment that DC can build to like that one character just has a line to where he can say it, when they're when it's Dark Side and it's on and it's about to get real stupid serious, and we got to stop because they've reached that level with the character because they built to it? And who is it?
Whoa.
Yeah, who's got that line?
That's a tough one.
Because that's a line.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Because when you think about it would probably be circling, be the Justice League and other characters operating in Justice League for that kind of scene. Possibly other teams as well, right? Which makes sense. So it would be one of the three that would say it. It would be Superman, Batman, or Wonder Woman who would say it. I would imagine. What they would say though, wow.
Can I say real quick, just to throw out a subtle, I think it'd be funny, is if they've really built John Constantine right at this point. And right. And he's the guy that gets this line, and it's, oh.
If they went that route, you can just see him putting out his cigarette, smushing it on the ground, and then saying something. He wouldn't even be a battle cry. He would just say bollocks, and then he was off. He's already charging, and he was like, "Oh, it's happening. Okay, let's just go join."
Everybody else is like, John.
But or no, actually, you know what? Because it'd be for all ages. He'd probably say something very UK, like, let's have it, right? Or how did he say that? It's like, let's have at it, have at it, let's have at it, right?
Dude, they can do bollocks. They did bollocks in the like he would say that in the TV show he was in.
Did he? Oh yeah, he did. Oh, he did. Right.
Yeah, that's totally.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
he did. That was like such an unappreciated show. They did it so right, and people didn't get it because people associate the live action version. And I don't mean this to be mean or bad to him, but the Keanu Reeves version, I was like, I like that version for different reasons. I do. Because they did as much as they could possibly during that time when comic book movies were, because they didn't want to promote it as a comic book film, any film that was from a comic book. So that was during that era. It sounds strange to say that today, but we had so many films that were based on comic books. It's like when you tell friends, like, yeah, MIB is based on a comic book, which is not as entertaining in quotation as this, but you can read it, etc., etc. Oh God, I just remembered Road to Perdition.
yeah,
that was a comic, right? That was comic first too. So there's a lot of these kind of things where during that time that we're not going to promote this as a comic book film because no one will come see it. But now it's the whole opposite, based on the comic book, And
now Howard, I have to say though, in the case of like The Mask, they shouldn't promote the comic with that film. Okay. If you're promoting it to the respective proper age ranges, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Because
that's true.
Because that's the movie, that's the comic book movie that was made back in the day. I want to see get brought back, and I want to see them do the source material justice and like follow that story. And I want to see how does that go over. Can we get like a whole Mask series where he gets to the point where he's trying to be president and like, come on, let's make this real interesting.
That, you know what, it would work better. I think it would work today more so than it did back then.
Oh yeah.
For that storyline, not what he did with Jim Carrey was amazing, beautiful, and very entertaining. We'll just won't talk about Son of the Mask at all, but I don't know if that's considered as in anime we have a lot of filler episodes. Kind of sorry. Really, but yeah, I think they would work. I mean, in today's time and how we understand things like that, things like, oh wow, that's the throwback to the 90s. Like, well, no, they had the animated series, from Image Comics, the Max.
Oh yeah,
like if they did a live action version today, I think it would legitimately work, and it'll be really trippy as shit. Because you're literally going into a different place, space, how you want to conceive it. I don't know who hasn't read it, but if you haven't read it, I don't want to spoil it because it is a fun ride to read that. If you're like a new reader who's never read oh my God, ever read the Max, and you start reading it now, holy smokes!
Yeah,
enjoy. It is not all ages. I'm just gonna let you say it again. Not all ages. It's up to you if you want your parents to read. Your parents, if you want that you read or not. But holy crap, one of the greatest comics that come out of the 90s, out of that weird multiple cover crap, 3D chrome, blah blah blah. And I keep telling the younger folks who don't understand that, it's like, what do you mean? How bad was it? I forgot how comic cost back in the day, but the day after it'll be $15. It's like, why? Because we were stupid. I have a bunch of them in my basement if you want one for free. Because how much they're worth? Less than cover. But yeah, you know what? It is what it is. I mean, as much as we hate it as collectors and people who've read comics, if it didn't happen, we wouldn't have the bump in budget, and I mean that seriously, in budget, to have all these publishers that come out of that in the 90s to do all these wacky, crazy ass comics. Yes, some of it was a money grab. I know because I have them in my basement, but we wouldn't have this momentum build up behind comic books, right? I mean, indie comics, I think, would have would have had a downturn if it wasn't for that, honestly, because it wasn't, for those who don't know, it wasn't really the DC and Marvel comics that were pushing this spec market for interesting different covers and first issues or whatever. It was the indie market, which is insane to say that today. Even the indie publishers were making more money than DC back in the day during that time because of that. So if it wasn't for us going, yes, I will buy 20 copies of Spawn Batman, I guess I don't have to put this part of my brain. We probably wouldn't have the kind of indie comic book scene we have today, even though it's fluctuating. It's hard times, COVID, blah blah blah, and I get it. We wouldn't have what we have today. It wasn't for that. As much as we joke about it and we look back at it, we look at our collection, going, "Why did I do this?" If it wasn't for that happening, where would the indie market be, right? Today, meaning, right? I don't think we would have been able to do it, right?
Yeah, just out of curiosity, let's say, like, suddenly they make it to where nobody's doing variant covers, right? I mean, which is never, let's be clear, that's never going to happen for a multitude of reasons, you know what I mean? Like, I don't, like, so many things. But let's just say, like, no variant covers from anybody. What do you think that does to the comic book market?
I think it would make it more interesting in the sense of, as a collector, it'd be one thing, because when a print run is done, yeah, you can do reprints. Honestly, people think that, well, there's a, a lot of different ways of seeing it. People think that the reprint should have a different cover to make it different from the original print run. But the thing is, to those who read, if you look at the information out in your inside front cover, it literally tells you which printing it is, right? Like books do it from beginning of time. there's different, So comic books are no different. We have that right now. I mean, for when you said no variant covers, I mean, I don't know. Do I have any of this English? I have to trade. But when I did Damn Chris Children, I literally talked to my team, like, we're not going to do any variant covers, right? And I was like, no, because we all lived through that time and we really don't want to be part of that now. So we legitimately didn't do variant covers. And I don't have any singles with me right now. I mean, I have to trade, so I have the trade here. So I don't know. Are you seeing that, or are you seeing
Lower it a little?
Lower? Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
There we go.
You good? All right. So this is a trade, but our covers are like just one. There's no like. We didn't go to reprint. We didn't get the numbers to do a reprint. But had we reprinted, we were going to debate of what we were going to do with the cover, to be honest. And one idea we had in the team was to make it black and white. So it's the same cover, but now it's a second printing, but it's actually the same art, just not colored.
I think that's intriguing as far as if you were to do that. Like, if and again, I know this will never happen, but man, I'm curious just as to what this would do to the market as a whole. And then if you added, like, okay, so every next printing has a different cover. You know what I mean? And you could even do this in like graphic novel runs and all of this. So technically, it would take the collector market in a different route, because sometimes it would probably end up like, actually, there's more of the second printing, or there's less of the second printing than there is of any other printing. So technically, it's worth more money. Like, it would get real. That's what I'm saying. Like, it could get
it's such the spec market is so weird these days, because you're absolutely right. The second printing, third printing, etc. Technically, it's less and less numbers that are out there with that cover, but the value is usually put on the first printing, which has the most print run. usually. And I had this conversation before too. At one of it's like anything. Every convention you go for dinner and you have these kind of talks. So I said that to someone. I'm like, isn't that interesting? Because number wise, it doesn't make sense, because something's more valuable because there's less of it, right? Yeah. Except for comic books. Because how many copies of issue 1 did we print out? More, a lot. How about the reprint? 30% of what we did for the first run. I'm going to do a second run. How many are you going to do that? Maybe 10% of the first print run. Which one has the most value? The first print run that has whatever, 80,000 units, right? So it's like, that doesn't, in any other collector market, it makes no sense in that by the number wise. But if you look at it as the first of the three or first of the whatever, it kind of makes sense. But you talk to anyone who collects baseball cards or whatever, they like doesn't make sense at all why you guys do that. Like they don't. It's like it's really the rarity of having one available on Earth is what makes it rare, right? So when you talk to like legit baseball card collectors about how we collect comics and how we value it, they basically like, I thought comic books were weird, but that just doesn't make sense business wise. So it's like, and I get that. So yeah, you know, I mean, for me, as much as I know people enjoy variant covers, I'd rather have that one cover and then you telling me it's a second print run on the cover. You can literally say second print run. And I wouldn't even feel bad about it. I'm like, I missed the first one. That's on me. I'm going to buy the second one or whatever. Or I'm going to still support you by buying a print one and gifting it to someone, whatever. The thing is, there's people who buy comic books to read who will never slap their comics. And those are people who instantly buy like 2 or 3 copies and then instantly slap, the best of the 3 that they bought and never read it. And then there's the ones who literally just buy 1 copy and never read it and then instantly have it slapped. So, you know what I mean? Like, I have all 4 variants of this cover because, the store had to buy X, copies of the issue to get this special cover. I have one of them. It's in the slab. Have you read it? No. And we know those folks, right? I, as a person who has, has written a few comics here and there, want you to read them, look at the art, enjoy the story. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you don't like. Just don't punch me. You can tell me how much you hate my crap as much as you want. Because at least I know I made you feel something. I triggered something in you outside of your normal day, right? Your normal little day of waking up, eating, going to work, going back home, eating, sleeping, and repeating. You had something affect you that made you want to feel something. But you slap something immediately, what do you feel besides, it's on my wall, look at it? You can't really.
I mean, we can see the cover.
Exactly.
But, like, I worked on the inside, too.
So, I mean, I don't know, I want to say his name. Did you say his name? Who said that? I forget. No, it wasn't him. I forgot who said this. Now I have to figure out who said this. One person I know who works in comics, I totally forgot it, is a he or she, because now I'm like, told me that the way people slap their books, you might as well just tear off the cover and stick it in a plastic sleeve for them, and then give the rest of the comic to someone who actually wants to read it. And it made me laugh because I'm like, back in the day, how bookstores returned books was to really gently tear off the covers and melt them back to the publisher. And but what happened to those books? People who are very nice to the bookstore might find them in the dumpster or about to go to the dumpster, or technically are thrown out, and then collect the books that have no covers and read books. Not me, possibly me, amongst other friends. So yeah, I mean, it's a really weird world that we live in, that people want to just throw things and encase them in plastic immediately and then be okay with something like that, because it's not like it's a. I mean, obviously I collect toys and Lego and all that, and that's something I can touch and whatever, and appreciate it. And that, but if it's a book or a comic or something to read, or say a film, I don't know. I heard of people who do that with VHSs now, that they've been slabbing. I don't know. I heard that. I'm like, I've never seen one personally or online, but I heard some people slabbing VHS tapes. I was like, what? Seriously? Because first I want to kind of see it. I'm kind of weirded out. Why would you do it? Because the whole point of having a media film to watch it. Like, I have honestly a Blu-ray of, earlier I showed my collection of stuff, and one of them was a Blu-ray of the Transformers film, the original one. I watched the hell out of it already. It's a collector's edition, blah, 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 anniversary. But I know had I not opened the plastic, I probably could have sold it on eBay. Yeah, absolutely. I probably could have slabbed it too, I guess. But I watched it. The first thing I did was, like the non-collector, ripped out the plastic and shoved it into my PlayStation. And then I called my brother and like, you better get it over quick because I'm not going to watch this right now. So I don't know. It's this weird world that collector. It's like almost throwback to like, oh no, he reads it though. I was gonna say it's like people have become, like the comic book shop guy from The Simpsons, but even he read his stuff before he would put it behind glass and stuff, right? So I don't know. It's a really interesting world we live in for people to be okay to have something but not enjoy it at all before protecting it or whatever you want to call that, right? My favorite person who hates slabs is my co-writer in Jan Chris Sheldon, which I just showed you, which is Josh Stafford. He hates slabbing 100%. He joked that anytime he'll see one, he'll break him out. He'll free the comic by breaking the slab. And I was like, I don't hate them to that extent. I don't feel bad about people doing, or not mad about people doing it, but
I can understand. I mean, there's a part of me that can understand it with certain books. And when I say certain books, I mean they better be at least, I'd say, I don't know, like 40 years old. Or is a slab really necessary? Like, but I don't know, man. But I know people with slab books that like just came out. Yeah, and that's
right from the shop, right instantly. Send it to see, like you said, send it to get it. Basically notarize, like don't even create in my pull list. Instantly when it comes in, make sure you get the best one and send it out and slide it. I know, and there's people like that. And for me, it's like, read it. If you can buy 2 copies, one for reading, one for that, please do that, because as much as we like money as comic book creators, and we do, you feel free to throw tips at us and stuff. We really want you to read our comic books. We really want you to enjoy the art. We really want to see how it connects with you, because it's much easier for us to just do. I mean, I'm a writer, so this is going to be sad for me to say this. Just do pinups and then have you slap them, then to work for months, years on a story, a comic to a mini series for you to just not read. It hurts at a whole other level, right? So
that's the other thing I think a lot of people don't probably take any cognitive note of, is the fact that there are people that have put a lot of sincere hard work, thought, and just grinding in some kind of either type in art. Like some of the people I've seen do art on this show live, it's a mental grind, because you're having to take and adapt and create something on paper or digitally or however, and put it in just from thin air. You know what I'm saying? Especially some of the situations I've like put Shiro and some of the other people in, and some of the fan cons, as far as like,
Yeah.
hey, do this and this and make something, all right? And they're like, and it breaks
Put me on the spot once or twice with that.
So it's an improvement, yeah, and I don't understand why people don't. I don't know, man. I guess it's odd. I feel like people in a lot of ways have moved away from long form stories nowadays, and I think it's a thing of you get a quicker hit of dopamine off some little short blah blah, right? You do.
Yeah.
So, and you can get it again and again and again and again and again. But to truly put into something, even if it's just reading a story, I think it gives it gives a better, more satisfying dopamine hit once you get to the end of whatever that is. And that's just my opinion. I think that for some reason that's kind of been lost upon us. And I mean, as terrible as it is, the thing that should have created exactly the opposite created exactly what I just explained, that being the internet. And that's why I need to make short little clip videos like we were talking earlier when we were talking, Howard.
Yep.
But
yeah, I mean,
feed the masses.
I agree. I mean, we've lost the, I mean, it's a lot. This is gonna be a lot to unpack if I do it wrong. Those of us who grew up with TV and commercials were trained to have extreme patience and also strategy in how we consume our entertainment media, because shows don't wait. Unless you had a VCR back in the day, and then that's a little different in start, for that. But commercials happened, and either you watch them or you use that to do something. And we did something. We would run out and either get a snack or talk to the person next to you what you just saw for the last 15, 20 minutes or whatever, how long the show is, right? For the, before it comes back on and continue the story. So we were able to digest, talk about a story happening in front of us in the middle of the story without taking away from the story's experience, which was really a really interesting time for us to grow up in. Now with, from, I was going to say SOVOD, from streaming series, there's no commercials. And you can binge the entire series, the entire season, all in the next 2 days if you don't sleep. And people do that. I'll admit it, I've done that. And at the end, sort of like, you ask yourself, why did I do that? I could have, as an adult, tell myself, just watch one episode a week. Enjoy it, digest it, let it sit with you for a bit. I didn't for a couple of things, and I was like, why did I do that? Because it's there, and there's no one stopping me. It sounds really weird to say that, because it's, as an adult, you can do that yourself, but it's like, you gotten used to consuming in today's time. You're used to, if I do it now, I do it all, and then I can see more. Because your ability to see not just one show, but a bunch of shows all the same time. Nice. All the books that fall off the shelf. But now with Netflix and other streaming series looking at, right now Amazon is throwing ads in the middle of their shows, right? And people's like, you have to pay to get rid of them. I'm not. And in fact, I kind of like enjoy the fact there's a pause in the middle of me watching something, because I'm like, oh, good, it's a commercial. I'm gonna go get a snack, or I'm gonna do something in the middle of these like 30 seconds to a minute, do something else and have a break, and not binge this because honestly, because of the Amazon throwing on commercials, I actually haven't binged anything on Prime since they started doing that, which is really weird. But Netflix, because you don't, the only way you stop it from happening is you stop it yourself. If you let go of your remote, it'll just go to the next episode, and we'll just keep going, right? So we lost that ability to have a pause in the middle of a show, and also to wait for a week for the next one. We don't have that ability, because we're used to now consuming as much as we can in the shortest time as we can, and believing that now that we have quantity, we have more quality. In reality is we have way less quality, because we don't really understand what we watched. Meaning, we could talk about the surface stuff, notice some of the themes, and then we move on. We don't really connect with it, because we can mention shows from, depending on when you were born, from the 80s all the way until now, and then you can look at the past shows, 80s, 90s, early 2000s, when things were still on TV. You can name shows and you'll think of them completely different. Like for one of them, for me, we had Quantum Leap. That show is completely, I have a different experience and connection with that compared to like Fallout. Yes, I played one of the games, Fallout 3, I think I played. So I kind of know the universe, but I binged it just because I don't know. Because that was right before before they were going to activate the commercials, and mine wasn't on yet that time. I knew it was going to be on during that week, so I just binged it. This is my last time I could binge on Prime, so I just did that out of spite. And I went through it. I'm like, it was like, it's a great show and blah blah blah, and they did all this work to make it completely like the game, and looked at all the different background stuff, right down to little design things of this and that, and I'm like, yeah, they did. Kind of not noticed it, and kind of did, I guess. But when I think back to episodes, you asked me a certain episode, like, what episode did you like, or what scene did you like from that series? Because I binged it. I can't tell which scene is from which episode sometimes. I see it as a whole. For Quantum Leap, I can't tell which episode number. I can tell you that this episode had this happening and was crazy and really interesting to me, and this other episode had something else. And I can say that, knowing that they're from different episodes. And I can talk about the show in a whole different way because it connected me in a different way. I mean, the ending hurt like crazy, by the way, but because that was sort of that ending where you're like, really? But, I get why you did that, but I wish you didn't. I mean, we talked about that. I remember in high school, we talked about the ending of that show for so long because it could have went in so many different ways. No one really talked about the ending of something like Fallout. We talked about how good was the production, how close it was to the video game. What do you think about it being live action because you didn't choose and create your own character and blah 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 blah. And I was like, I enjoyed it because they stayed true to the world and everything. And it's it's almost like watching a weird like avant-garde of a Twitch stream playing Fallout, I guess, because you're not playing, but you're you're observing someone else playing the game in quotation, like watching Fallout, the show. But
that's such a funny point, Howard, if you really think about it. Because if you look, I'd say I won't go farther back than 10 years for this, but that's how things are generally received more than anything nowadays. People tend to not discuss so much how things ended, but how the production was and how it looked and how it was acted, as opposed to how the actual story affected you. I feel like this has become more and more and more of a trend. People not actually speaking on the depth of the story and the characters. People just worried about the production value that's there. And look, you know what? Hercules, that got me a couple times, all right? The production value, I mean, they did what they could, and that's all I'm saying, right? But I really, truly appreciated the show. So I think, why do you think that's gone so the way that it has?
Well,
like, it better look real. Oh, if that vein is in the wrong place, Howard, let me tell you, the internet's going to storm.
Oh man, I know. I mean, there's that one guy who basically was correcting all the things that he saw from the live action One Piece Netflix series. So this, when people were doing the rolls and the sword was bending because it's made out of rubber, he's like, he fixed it by redoing the CGI himself to show that it can be done. And I was like, okay, I get why you did that. And then it's something that to show that you can be done. I get that, but you're focusing on the wrong thing. Maybe. So we were more lenient for weird shit that happens when there's like a faux pas. Production guy's leg is somewhere, or whatever we see that's jarring. We were more forgiving because we were more interested in the story that was being told. Because that was our entertaining. Our entertainment wasn't about the explosions and crap. It was really about the story and the characters, and literally not thinking about whatever would be bothering you that moment during that week, day, month, year, whatever, and having those 30 minutes, hour, where you don't think of anything about where's this character's journey going to go, and I'm going to enjoy the ride and see. And then you'll see moments where it connects with you because it sort of connects with you by talking to you about something that you're addressing, a problem that you're having, or something that you're feeling that moment, and then it carries you because it's going through a journey anyways, right? Today we look at films compared to the past, it's more action, more explosions than we had back in the day. Like, production's a little different because we have computer graphics that can do all that, and so forth. But it doesn't make sense to have a story that's really heavy special effects when it could have been more emotional talking heads, if you don't use quotation talking heads, and have more impact that way. Like, if you think about, I don't want to throw really far back, before we had CGI as a thing, we still had special effects and we still told stories that still impacted people. So, today we would have a slasher film where people would legitimately get, butchered up in front of the screen. You see things, whatever, whatever. Back in the day, you see a scene, doors slammed shut, who's in there because you tell the characters, and you hear them talking, you hear sound effects, and you're freaked out by it now. But you see nothing but that door and maybe some loud bangs or thuds and people screaming, and you're scared as crap. Versus the other thing, which is today, and you're like, oh, that happened. Oh, that's disgusting. Oh, okay. Doesn't make sense though, right? But
there's
the reality is
implication.
we had a better connection with our imagination before we were just spoon fed all this stuff.
There's just no implication anymore. It's all just straight to the
we're not allowed to use our imaginations anymore. I mean, comic books is one of the few, mediums that still do that. Everybody has their own version of the voice of the character that they're reading, because we don't tell you unless it's written in a very specific accent. You think of your voice in your head is whatever that becomes that voice of that character you're reading the dialogue for. You control the flow. Right? You control the flow of the scene.
Yeah.
By flipping the page, you can stop, pause, whatever you need to do. So you have full control of how that unfolds for you, right? But you're using the imagination, because comics are not moving pictures. You have one panel, panel one, panel two. What happens in the gutter, it's invisible, but our brains that use our imagination can see the whole entire sequence of actions going from A to B. Comic books does that. Novels do that because they tell you about a scene and like blah 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 happened, but you're imagining because you don't see anything but words. It's all here. All the other mediums have now lost that part of storytelling and went on to, we're just going to spoon feed you and literally show you in exposition after exposition after exposition now of everything, including fights, including whatever, murder scenes, whatever. Like they're literally spoon feeding us now so that we can save time, I guess. I don't know, because if when we think of when we were little kids and watched our first horror film, whatever it may be, it scared the crap out of us. And some of it would be, like The Exorcist down to the Poltergeist with the kid, the girl in front of the TV screen. People freak out about it, but what did you actually see? You saw a girl sitting in front of a TV screen with a bright light, but you're freaked out by it completely, right? I know people. If I start talking about, they freak out and like stop talking about that. That's really scary me as a kid. I'm like, yeah, but today, no. They won't scare me because people are like, that's such a cheap. They did cheap down on CGI. They cheap down on this. They could have used more lighting. They could have done blah blah blah. They could have used at least put on real use real special effects for makeup. They'll just disseminate to that point, not enjoy not use their imagination how we did, because a bright light equal ghosts and other things. Like for us, before all this happened in today's time, in today's media, we used our imaginations a whole lot more to fill in all the gaps, like what we do in comic books. Now we have not. Now it's all, we'll show everything right down to the T. No need to think, and here you go.
To that effect,
right?
And what you're saying, Howard, what's your opinion of the fact that they decided to take artificial intelligence and start having it make art? Which clearly it's not thinking.
I mean, with Sony's, I think Sony's boss, don't quote me, I just saw the headline somewhere recently that Sony's thinking of using AI to help with to speed up production, and people reacting to it, and how that will affect entertainment media in general. I know we hate it, and the thing is, I know a lot of artists hate it right now and hate it, feel threatened by it. And I understand that, because people who write have had this problem since the moment people created autocorrect. Was legitimately when our threat started back then. And then, things like Grammarly started happening, and people, you notice that no writers are like, oh my God, we're not going to have a job because Grammarly is going to like write better than us. And they're like, no one said anything. It's like, because we weren't threatened by it. Reason why artists have an ability to say something and fight it, because you can see the image that they drew. It's because the art style, it's like basically a thumbprint, an art style. For writing, it's a little harder because 4 people might write similarly. So who wrote it first, right? It's a little tougher. If you started, if you use generic sentences, and most of us do, we don't use really weird words and really weird adjectives out of the open blue when we write. Who wrote it? Did AI write it? Did author A, B, C, D, E, F, G wrote this line? It's hard. It's really hard for us to, and I mean, legal wise, scientific wise, to quantify whose is whose, which makes it harder. So I've been having that discussion way back when people started looking at OpenAI stuff, and I was like, well, I already know that this is going to happen, and I've already seen things, people using Grammarly to write scripts because I can see that it's not their style, because I know some people's style from back, reading their stuff a few times. Not people who got published, it's just people who are trying to get work out there, and like, yeah, use the autocorrect because, when you're tired, you're tired. I get that. Catches a missing period, great. That's what it's there for. But don't use it for your style of writing, because that should be your thumbprint for who you are. People should hopefully be able to read at least one of your sentences out of 1,000 sentences and go, this is absolutely so-and-so's writing. I hope that happens, because if you can't, it makes it really hard for you to protect yourself as a writer. And I know, and I'm in the same boat. I understand how hard it is. And I had discussions with authors who are like really freaking out about AI about that, because like anybody else, you do run a test, you throw in a prompt in whatever AI you want to use, and you're like, holy crap, it just did a whole novel just in front of me. Versus me taking years or whatever, who the writer might be, right? It's a real threat. So for artists, difference is you have your art, you have an easier time. It's not simple, an easier time to prove that your stuff being stolen for a lot of different reasons. Where it's going to go for entertainment media, unfortunately, I see it. You can be used more and more so. It's already been used in some commercials already from legit agencies, big ones. You just Google it. You can see it. It's really wacky, insane that they did that. How's it going to flow? My prediction is that how Adobe's Firefly was doing it was using all the image, graphic and image assets that they use for their other stuff before the AI that they were creating, and people were okay with it, because as an artist you get paid when somebody uses whatever from you through Adobe, right? No difference from like what Canva does and stuff. If you have assets that you can buy from whoever graphic designer uploaded there for money, I see Adobe continuing that direction to videos, beyond whatever. So basically they're going to amass a huge library of assets for anyone to use, and the creators of those assets getting royalties. I'm pretty sure it's going to be eventually going to be even worse than they're getting today. It's going to be right down to Spotify style of royalties, possibly worse, because once you have whoever has the biggest, and I use in quotation, legit library of assets is going to be king, and then they will be leading the charge, because they have the most things you can get for your subscription to their service to use whatever, to build whatever it may be, film, commercials, whatever it may be, unfortunately comic, and so forth. So that's where I see it happening. And because once you legitimize the assets by having them have all the author rights there and having them getting paid royalties, once you talk about lawsuits and stuff, there are no lawsuits now, because Adobe will sue the shit out of you for stealing their assets, technically made by other artists. Or if you use them without paying for a subscription, they will destroy you, literally, for sure. So that's how I see AI going, and I won't put it past any studio, movie, video games, whatnot, eventually over time, using a legit asset built AI system. The ones that are just crawling and using it illegal and just saying we found it on the internet, blah blah blah, we're using it to build our library and training our AI. Yeah, that can only go for so. I mean, we lived through Napster, we lived through Pirate Bay. Torrents are still available. That's the world we live in. But reality, that gave way to what? iTunes. It gave way to literally streaming music, right? So once you legitimize that aspect of how we get and make things, it changes the narrative, unfortunately, because everybody was especially I forgot. Oh shit, who was it? I forgot the lead singer. I think the lead singer for
Metallica?
Yeah, it was Metallica, right? That he was like legitly kind of like destroy the Napster guy. Was
Yeah.
it?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
That was him.
yeah. You know what?
Right?
You know what he did? You know, firstly, I'm gonna say, I think I've seen someone else, like a way bigger musician, say this, but I'll say it too. Like he needs to shut up, right? Like when he said that, he should have just been like, oh, I'm barely losing anything. Like there were people that were way smaller that were complaining. Napster, in all of its sincerity, wasn't hurting the music industry like people were whining and complaining about. It was making it to where there were people that were discovering that they liked things, and then probably ended up going and buying them when they, in any other case, never would. Right? It's but the fact that someone came up and blah blah blah, and ooh, now we have Spotify, and ooh, let me tell you, I'm on Spotify, and ooh, let me tell you.
Yeah. So yeah, and that's where I see AI going. I mean, we've seen this happen, but like I mentioned, from Napster and from Pirate Bay and all that. We've seen that. It literally was the blueprint of what we use today: Spotify, iTunes, Netflix. You know, it's literally from those folks who's like, you know what? It's a much easier and better way to share this stuff, so people can enjoy it much easier and have better access to it. And then when you legitimize it and then be able to lawyer up on stuff, it changes it. So AI for sure is going to head that direction, because when you tell any company, any organization that this can spit out these things within milliseconds versus us waiting for weeks, hours, whatever, they're going to do it because it's going to save time and money. We don't need to hire a whole team. We just need one person who can type. Great. They'll do it.
I just want to point out, I don't know if anybody that's been watching this quest can notice, but Howard does way more than just write comic books. He's worked for Nat Geo. He's done the what I man see my brain can't even remember exactly what it was, and I just looked at it, and that's what creative strategist, a realtor. I didn't know you were a realtor, Howard. That's an interesting throw in amongst all of this. So it makes it to
I
where
know.
obviously, well, it's just obviously between all of those things, you've been able to experience a lot of things, and the fact that your opinion for AI is, oh, in the long run, we're pretty much all doomed. That's what I feel like you just said. I want to point out. I want to feel like you just pretty much were like, well, in the end, there's
Well,
going to be a judgment day. I don't know if it's going Matrix or
here no
Terminator, but
well, we are and we're not. So, like music, we look at the music scene. Everybody's jumping on the Spotify trying to get, I hate saying it, over a couple million listens so they can actually make a dent in some money. I can't believe I'm saying that. People who are starting out in the music industry are now realizing what we did from back in the day, before my time. Live music, connecting with people in person, will create a lot stronger following, and also, business wise, way better sales. So you're noticing a lot of people doing small shows, really intimate stuff, like back in the day. How would you get noticed in the music scene? Play a lot of the bars, play a lot, blah 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 blah. People are busking. People are doing it on their own. People are loading up their own music on YouTube, ignoring the labels now, ignoring iTunes, ignoring Spotify, because they know that it doesn't work. So if you look at it, they're going back to how people were doing it way back in the day. How to get noticed by doing all these things. So if you ask anyone, would you prefer to listen to this on, digitally on your headphones, or going to a live concert, or a live, intimate 100 person, scene to listen to music? You want to do the live action one, the in person one. Which is a weird thing to say, that because of all this technology, we're going back to finding a more rudimentary way of engagement of our entertainment. So for AI and art and writing and what have you, for art, we are so enthralled. And for those who are in the comic book scene, we're used to seeing people doing sketches at conventions. You take the same artist and you put them in a different space. Put them on, I'm not saying put them on the street and then have, doing caricatures, but put them in whatever. A convention for accounting. I'm not pointing down accountants. I'm pretty sure they have their own convention. and you put a comic book artist there drawing something with no explanation, by the way, you'll have a crowd within 5 minutes or less, right? Because they're connecting to the actual art being created, and it's hitting them completely different. They have nothing to do with art at the accounting convention, but they will stand there and watch it completely unfold. So because of all this, crazy amounts of entertainment media that we can consume, from binging to how music industry is, AI, yeah, we will have access to this thing where we can just create all these branding, marketing, comics, films within seconds. But the real connection we'll have is when these moments when we are able to be in person with an artist doing their thing, or watching them live on YouTube versus watching an AI do it like that. Because when the AI does that, at the end of the day, we know that it's AI. We're like, okay, it's done. It's a functional thing, kind of like it, kind of not, or whatever. But once you watch an artist do their thing, no matter who you are on this planet, no matter what discipline you learn, whatever culture you're from, you'll literally legitimately watch it because you have a connection with it. And then in turn, you have a connection with the artist. There's no language barrier. There's nothing, none of that crap. But with AI, you will never have that. If you ask someone, let's watch this person write a prompt and then spit out art, versus a person beside them drawing, you know where the crowd's going to go. You already know that without even thinking about it too hard. So we're going to be seeing that aspect of, a lot of jobs are going to shift to being people who can type sentences and direction, aka like text-based video games. Surprise. Now I swung that back there. To people realizing for them to continue their journey in art or writing to do it live. We've seen them on YouTube, the people who bring out legit, typewriters into the park and writing poetry for people live. We're going to see more of that. And if we really go back in time, that's how we got it. You literally have these, like Renaissance folks on the street selling their services, doing poetry or writing you something or doing an art for you or selling art to you, because there's an engagement with that person. We're going to see that movement again, because when AI becomes a real thing and it gets legitimized, we're still as human beings, we need a connection. We like to connect with things, real things, things that are made by human beings. We want that, how many people on Earth would want every single restaurant on Earth cooking food with robots? I don't ever want robots food. I will try it once for shits and giggles. That's really about it.
What if you tried it and it was the best thing you ever had?
That's possible, but that's only that moment. I haven't eaten everything on Earth. Right.
Fair.
But the thing is, it's like, when you, why do we like open kitchens? Why do the most high-end restaurants allow you to see what they do, how they prep things? Because they know this thing that we have is a lot more important than the end product of, like, we plated it so perfectly, we measured every single angle, blah, blah, blah. Here you go. Now take your photos and eat it. The eating part is important too, yes, but the whole thing, the whole process of it, the human touch of going, I'm going to put this, whatever this thing is, on your plate this way, because to me, it looks aesthetically nice. There is no laser pointer on the plate making sure it's the perfect angle. It's just legitimately somebody who was trained to go, I think this is the right place to put it, and you're going to enjoy how it looks like, and when you eat it, you're going to have a different experience. Here you go.
And look, if you need to know the right place as far as to get your marketing and everything right, you need to contact Howard. All that information, and all the links to where you can check out all kinds of things in concern with Howard are below, man. And Howard, there's this part of me that I'm like, this episode could go for 6 more hours. I already know it. Look, man, I gotta edit. What can I say? Right? And I gotta have you back for a PanCon. I got something I'm curious to talk to you if you'd be willing to talk about, but we'll talk about that just in a moment, right? But I want to let y'all know for everyone out there, man. If you've enjoyed this quest with Howard, right? Firstly, dude, you're the only other person I think that's picked My Little Pony. That's what I picked on my questionnaire because it's the right answer. Yeah. It is completely and totally the right. It's the right answer, man. It's like, hey, no, I want to live, so I'm gonna go chill with the ponies, right. But again, if you've enjoyed this interview, what I want you to do is send the wish dragon, yeah, over Howard's way, right, with some
I have a wish
Taiwanese,
dragon.
with some Taiwanese.
Absolutely.
It kind of does look like these. Those like Shiro's got about as close as I think you're honestly gonna find in the real world. Funnily enough, right?
Oh man.
With some Taiwanese beef noodles and that OG, like the original Millennium Falcon, right? And just for a little extra, throw in a coffee crisp or two, right? Now,
Nice.
if you didn't enjoy this interview, right? Like if you've been on this quest with us this whole time and you've just been annoyed, I want you to know you could have turned it off at any moment, first and foremost, right? Right? Just so you know. But if you hung on and you just wanted to know, right? And Howard's just got you just like Howard, and you like
No,
looking at
thanks.
Howard like, right? If that's what it is,
Yep.
right? What I want you to do is like just send a ton of like here. Let me see. With that answer, it's a good answer. It's a good. It's just like some vampires, some werewolves, some zombies.
That question about what I'm scared of, I'm legitly. I mean, if they were all real, I'd be scared of
Right.
all of them
Right.
equally
So
because
just like send everything that's mean his
I
way.
wouldn't hang out and going, you know what, this person might, this entity might kill me, so I'm okay. No, I'll legitimately be scared of all of them equally. So.
But before you send them all them his way, we're gonna make it a little extra. I just need you to just run them through some stinky tofu, right?
Oh,
Right? And make sure they all got Baby Shark playing in unison.
oh
Yes.
no.
Perfect.
Oh no.
Right? To come and just, really not even, like, they're not even going to be mean, man. They're just going to make sure you can't go anywhere and you're stuck with all of them. And that's what you're stuck around, Howard. That, again, is only if you didn't enjoy this particular quest. Sincerely, I hope you did, man. It's been phenomenal, Howard. I do. I got a PanCon coming up that I think you should get in on. It would be intriguing, right? But beyond that, right, I want you all out there to do three things. One, give it that thumbs up. Two, always get your comic on. Three, good night, y'all.
This has been the questionnaire.
Where's the link?
Thanks for checking out the questionnaire.
In the link below, yes?
I will drop it like it's hot.
That's another party.
It's cool, man. I love it.
The questionnaire. That is all.